Hello, everybody. Welcome to Leadership, Ethics, and Organization, the interview. And tonight's guest is Joshua Hale. And before we get started, let me just tell you a little bit about what uh, Leadership, Ethics, and Organization is all about. Our mission is to showcase talented, principled individuals that possess skills, experience, and knowledge in this area. Areas that even most entrepreneurs and business people have a limited understanding of, contradictory information on, or false beliefs about. We also discuss pertinent topics and allow those pursuing knowledge and opportunity to gain awareness and ask questions. Leadership, ethics, and organization are not areas for our thought authorities to command from, but simply roles and responsibilities that need to be addressed by all individuals, groups, and enterprises. And with that, I'll introduce today's guest, Joshua Hale. Joshua, you're definitely somebody that I've been wanting to have on the show because I think you're really the embodiment of a lot of the things that are going on with the experience that I've had with autonomy. When I first got to autonomy, you were like doing everything. I mean, I think you were like washing the windows to taking out the garbage and everything in between. You know, there was just, you were involved in all kinds of stuff. And over the since then, you know, we're almost to the end of season 3 now, and man, there's been a lot of changes, and for the most part, I think everything is positive. So there's all kinds of benefits to what you bring to the table. But I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. Oh, I'm not hearing you.
Thanks, Mike.
There we go.
I'm really honored to be here, and thanks for bringing me on here. And it's been a wild ride and something that I've grown into just being really proud of, to see this become, to see this created, but then also see it being supported by a community. I've kind of tried to build projects before in the past, and we started to build things, but then like the community never showed up, and we ended up having to like walk away from that. And so to have these many hands like picking up and showing up and helping out and like solving things on their own is just really inspiring and keeps me going every day.
Well, let's talk a little bit about you, though. What's your background, and how did you come to autonomy? And then I know you saw the opportunity there, and you kind of just jumped in and with both hands and took it on. But let's talk a little bit about your background.
Sure. The abbreviated version is um, I grew up and let's see, where do I want to start from? So I kind of screwed around for my whole 20s. I was really enamored by the like party culture, underground party culture, the electronic music scene. And I had dreams of becoming a DJ, and I did just that. But because of that, I kept myself very highly sedated, and I really couldn't find much success in my life. I was a victim of chance, to where sometimes I would get a break. Most of the times, I didn't. But I always like was able to get by, but at a very like modest level in life. And then when I hit 33 years old, kind of had my awakening moment and stopped doing all substances. Within a 2-year time span, I was able to kind of eradicate all the bad habits in my life. And then when I did that, I realized that I had a huge lack of skills. I was in my 30s. I was working in the restaurant industry the whole time of my adult life, and didn't know how I was going to break out of that, because the experience that I was garnishing didn't lead to anywhere other than more restaurant work. And I lacked the social skills to even work in the front of the house, meaning as a waiter or a bartender. And so I was really just limited to the skill set of back of the house and cook. I'm a good cook. I can cook. But I was trying to figure out how do I, um, how do I get out of that kind of dead end job? It was around 2012, and I saw that social media was really becoming a permanent fixture in all our lives, and quickly saw that like all businesses were going to have to adapt to this new form of marketing, but also like e-commerce, online transactions. And so because I had a personal project, my first business, which was customized affirmation track business where I would help others design and record their own personalized affirmations using their own voice. And then I would, using my skills as a DJ, put some nice ambient music behind there and then package it up. And then they had this affirmation track that they could just hit play. Really important factor on that was I would only do it with their own voice. Like I wasn't a big fan of letting anyone else into my subconscious. And so I had a firm principle in that. And I went to take that to market and learned how to build a website, how to like promote on social media. But really I realized that I spent that first year realizing or learning what not to do on social media. And then a year of using all capital letters, screaming at everybody about my product, which really didn't garnish any sales or clients from that. I learned through trial and tribulation, like how to start marketing on social media. And it was after a year of trying that I realized, and I saw the trend of like, man, all these other businesses are going to have to adopt to this. And so this is actually a bigger need than my affirmation business that I created. So kind of scoured the internet and learned as much as I could about like social media marketing back then. There was no courses in colleges yet. It was just the way out west. And so I learned what I could online, and then I got my first client and then considered myself an expert. And since then I've been working what's expanded into digital marketing ever since. But because of that, I was able to like work from home early on. Like, this is about 7 years ago, and started working from home, knowing like I didn't want to be a part of the meat grinding. I called it the slave wage culture back then of, working, trading my hours for dollars and living paycheck to paycheck. And since then, I just, been stacking my skills. And so to jump up ahead after jumping in and out of rabbit holes and catching wind of the Trivium method and then of the Tragedy and Hope community, became a big fan of Richard Grove and saw what he was putting together in the entrepreneur group on Tragedy and Hope website, saw that he was trying to launch a course, and I had experience with this. One of the clients that I previously worked with, I helped her build yoga courses on Teachable. And so using what tools I had available, I did a screen record and showed Rich, after asking him how he was planning on putting together this course. He didn't really have a plan. I showed him my client's course and like the back end of it and how it was organized and how the membership program worked. And I made sure to like show him the like tens of thousands of dollars that my client had made to catch his eye. That delivery cut through the noise for him. He gets a ton of emails and a ton of messages every day, but that really stood out. It was just like a 2-3 minute video, and he was able to show Lisa, his wife. And I had talked to Rich previously than that, but I was kind of just looking at ways how I can help out, and that was my ticket in. So we then started kind of meeting more regularly, and he started sharing more of like what he wanted to create. He's had this plan for like 10 years, and it was time to make it happen. And so, I was able to give him some direction, give him some framework, and then we've pretty much been working together since.
Well, a couple of the things you mentioned to me sounds like a great deal of self-discipline, though. When it comes to working at home, for example, a lot of people have a hard time making that transition and being disciplined enough to like keep themselves at the task or whatever it is at home that it takes. Uh, and then of course the what you've demonstrated here with autonomy and everything, also a great deal of self-discipline. But what would you attribute that to?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend like doing what I did. Like I said, when I kind of pulled out of that fog of substances in my 30s, I realized like how lacking of skills I had for the real world. Emotional skills, financial intelligence, like any skills that would an employer would find worth hiring. And so I was not a panic, but determination was definitely the word, where I work long hours just trying to teach myself things that most people, they pay a lot of money, go to college. The teacher tells them everything that they need to hear in order for that one specific goal to take place. So I put in just long hours of like, oh, I got to build a website. How do you build a website? Okay, let's figure that out. And then do it. And my wife can attest that, yeah, how much work I put into just gaining myself these skills myself. And I wasn't getting paid back then. Don't do what I do, because it took a long time to gather all these skills. But in hindsight, like, I needed to go through that rapid route because I kind of effed off my whole 20s and wasn't concerned about skill building. If I could have designed things, I would have done a little bit each day and headed in a good direction. But instead, I was cramming.
Well, we'll get into the meat of this particular interview, and we'll talk a little bit about these three different areas. So, in regard to leadership, what is your point of view on leadership? How do you practice leadership, and what are the things that you feel strongly about?
Well, I think like practicing what you preach is probably one of the biggest things. Like coming out of that fog cloud that I had, I was really able to figure out what was important to me, and through that, just learn the importance of values, and then the principles that support those values, and like that is it is extremely rock solid in my just makeup. And so I always kind of know what to do, because I know how it feels when I don't do something in integrity or in like that matches up with my values, and I've really like minimized that out of my life. And so because of that, I have like a high degree of confidence, not that I know everything, but I'll figure things out. And when I have a decision to make, that I can reflect them on my values, and not lie to a client and say like, oh yeah, I can do that, but say like, oh, I don't know how to do that, but I can figure it out. And so everything that comes out of my mouth is in according to my values and integrity. And because of that, now I can just kind of run on autopilot, because I do what I say I'm going to do, or I'll adjust in order to continue staying in integrity. So because of that, I don't know how you'd be a good leader without that, because if you're saying something and doing other things, then people find out, that trust value is just gone. And so I think that's really pivotal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I certainly see that with you, as far as the leadership that I've witnessed with you in autonomy, you've definitely been the example for a lot of people. And certainly as we've added more people, and you've kind of delegated some of these roles, I definitely see how they see what you're level of commitment is, and it is in almost immeasurable. But I definitely see a lot of other people then stepping up to that kind of a level of commitment as well, and it is definitely growing on a lot of people. But you mentioned your values, and I guess we'll just step right into the next question, which is about ethics. And what is your view on what ethics is and what the definition of ethics is for you, and then how does that apply to your business acumen?
Yeah, I've always been like a good guy. Like I was raised with like Christian values. I rebelled from that whole system, but then I started getting into drugs, and because of that, like I experienced what not to do. I've done a bunch of stupid things, like lied, cheat, stealed, like and led a life that, because I was so numbed up, I wasn't experiencing any immediate feedback from like my conscience, and like my feeling remorse, guilt, shame. That all was pretty much turned off because I was using such heavy substances. So I didn't have that immediate feedback. So I would just like screw over a good friend of mine, a roommate, and be like, "Oh, okay, I guess we're like moving out now," and be like, "Oh, on to the next thing." But I still have those experiences to draw from. And Rich recently played in Autonomy that Guy Ritchie video of him talking about the prodigal son, and how the one that went out into the city and like had a life that wasn't virtuous, but then comes to see the error of his ways. Like you need that in order to like know what good is. Like it, so I was really ashamed of a lot of my 20s and a large portion of my life. But then it came to realize like, oh wow, like I now have all that experience, and because of that I can help other people who are going through it, have gone through it, and coming out of that fog with that experience, and then realizing like what values that I really want. One of the main things I can attribute to is Derek Brose's holistic book, holistic lifestyle.
Self-evaluation or
Yeah, yeah.
self-assessment.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he did a holistic self-assessment, and that really caught my eye. And I did that for myself, and just the way he was able to organize it, of um, understanding that we all have like values, and then we all have principles that guide from those values, and then we have goals outside of those values, and then we have like habits, and if you're able to line all those up so that they're in harmony with each other, then you really do have this holistic lifestyle that's not contradicting yourself or your values. And if you're going to a job that is like hurting people, or part of all these like larger menacing industries, and you're just working to get a paycheck, like that's not really living in harmony with your values. And so there's got to be a lot of um, uh, uh, what's that called? Just conflict, internal conflict, knowing that you might be drinking a lot or doing substances in order to kind of numb that, in order to not look at it. But I've gone through all that, so I'm really sensitive about realizing inside, like, oh yeah, that's definitely doesn't feel right. And because it doesn't feel right, then it's not like a maybe, it's a hell no. So because of that, my compass is really straight, and that framework of values, principles, goals, habits, and like being able to analyze those consistently and constantly, to be able to make sure that they're all heading in the same direction, has given me the ability to not have to like worry about it so much. Like I'm like I said, I'm kind of on autopilot now, where like everything's kind of fixed in, and this is how I operate. And if something doesn't resonate with my operation, then that's a clear indication that that's not something I want to invest my time into. And because of that, this world is a huge reflection, and I've kind of pulled myself out of lower vibrational relationships and environments, and now I'm like I'm just blessed to be a part of this community where I'm surrounded by excellence.
Yeah, that's some awesome stuff, Joshua. I really appreciate that. Talking about organization now, this is another area that you seem to have a great vision for the future, and certainly the way that autonomy is coming together, it is kind of self-organizing in a lot of different ways. What is your point of view on organization, and what are the things that you really want to see out of this organization?
Well, we really have the possibility, we really have the potential to really make change happen in this world. Not just like in my life or in my family or like in this community, but we have the tools and the community uh, and to be able to like actually make some change on this current current events or current like political landscape. Things have never been so crazy ever, I would say. And to know that yeah, like what I'm building and focusing on day by day, this is the from the brainchild of Richard Grove, where he saw a need in the market and he started putting together a plan to fill that need. But the need in the market really boils down to helping helping freedom continue to exist in the future. And so you break that down into like individual autonomy, and because without individual autonomy there is no freedom. But being able to help people, just kind of like my experience of getting out of that, it's a harsh term, but slave wage system where people aren't really paid a living wage. And as I felt trapped in it because I wasn't really gaining any skills or ability to get out of that system and living paycheck to paycheck. You really can't become very autonomous when you're dependent on that. I mean, I was on food stamps for the longest time just because I didn't make enough to, or I made enough to qualify for food stamps, which is a horrible way to think. But because of that, what was the question again? I swung way out there.
Well, we're talking about your vision for the organization,
Thanks.
and yeah, okay.
So because of that, yeah, I'm part of a larger plan to help each individual to be able to do what they want in life, figure out what they want to do, spend the time that they have on Earth doing what they actually want to do. But then they're also contributing to a much larger plan and structure. And so that's what's I mean that's what's so magical and amazing about this whole thing, is that I'm not just like, I like to help people. Great, I'm helping people. That's fulfilling, but there's still a bigger purpose going on. And I think that buzz is what people are like, um, can feel immediately. But then to understand the depth of what is being created, this Voltron figure that's being created, it takes time. Like it's so big and powerful that you can't understand the scope of it, like yourself. Like you have to go through the layers, and it's a most likely it must be an internalized process first, right? You have to come to your own self power before you realize, like, whoa, if we're all this powerful, then what happens when we all work together on something? And that's what's being built to actually make a huge difference in the world.
Yeah, I feel strongly, actually we had a meeting and, honestly, some of the things that really kind of clued me into your leadership skills and the way that you operate are the people that you've brought into autonomy, whether it be an interview or some of the other people that are now, part of Autonomy Unlimited. You've really had an influence in a lot of people's lives, and the way that you've treated them comes across, as that ethical kind of way. But we were talking about another project that you and Kara had put together, and some of the kind of the organizational ideas in regards to that, and how does that relate to what we're doing with autonomy, and what your vision for autonomy is?
For sure. So me, Kara, and Tori, we met online probably about 4 years ago now, and we started working on a project called the Identity Movement. It was that term has gone places since in the last 4 years. So the branding might have needed work. But essentially, what it was me watching Derek Bros and seeing him do his freedom cells and wanting to start something similar like that in our area. And so we narrowed down um, to try and create community around skill shares, and from those skill shares, which is offering a free event, so for people to come and either present skills or to like be in the audience and listen and to learn new skills. And from that event of free value exchange, then have trust take place with and start meeting other people, which then leads to mutual aid groups, which then leads to volunteering, and if uh, so that creates a benefit to that little cell of people. And we put a lot of time and energy and a lot of researching like best practices, and then also we did skill shares for like 2 years. We put them on every week, every other week, and sometimes like two people showed up. Sometimes we had a couple of like 20 people showing up, but for the most part, like I said, that was the project where we just couldn't get like community support in order to help share the burden of organizing these events and trying to kickstart these mutual aid groups. When in retrospect, like probably have better success right about now with people taking things seriously. But from that, yeah, we learned a bunch of great like organizational skills, public speaking skills, because I was pushing Kara out in the front of the room. Tori was giving presentations. I was filling in all the like empty slots. So uh, I I had gone to Toastmasters kind of in parallel with that, and so I was gaining these public speaking skills, and then we learned a lot from that, as well as like the beginning of like how to have organization. And we came across a system called sociocracy, which really caught my eye. Of we didn't want this like top down hierarchical system where there's one person, the owner, who's in charge of everything, and you always have to do what he says. That's that like slave wage system that I left. Uh, but we wanted to have kind of a more even playing field where people could self-organize and may do decision making on things that affected them. So we tried to adopt that, but we didn't really have the community to actually like test it. So we just learned about it. We liked it a lot. And because of all that, like that kind of failed entrepreneurial experience wasn't a failure, but it never came to bloom in the community. But because of all that, yeah, I'm bringing all of these skills and all of these resources with me into autonomy, and then into my role as like the executive director. And being able to apply these now, because now we have community. Coupled with all this, I learned nonviolent communication in the last few years. Luckily, we found a local certified trainer who became my mentor, and I dived pretty deep in that. And that became an immediate communication tool that was able to really have a strong impact in my life, so that I can hang in with uncomfortable situations. Really, that's like the greatest thing. I can, wherever the conversation goes, I don't have to like shy away or try and run away or try and change the subject or try to jump to a strategy, because this situation right here is uncomfortable. I can now just hang there and be with that person, and that creates connection, that creates empathy, and that's increased the that's made every relationship in my life better because of that. So putting all those tools that I've learned, along with, I'm sure, a ton of like unconscious DJing, read the crowd tools, and how to, make people dance and throw a party, and all these skills that I can hardly remember, I'm sure still bubble to the surface and are put into use.
Yeah, I think there's a saying, if we're not having fun, we're not doing it right. And sometimes that comes into play as well. And man, as you mentioned, like stacking your skills. And to me, it seems like, man, you really went to work at stacking skills, because you've got a bunch of things. But I guess at this point, I want to kind of jump to like one of the projects that's really kind of a burgeoning thing going on right now. And that's that 19 essential skills. And I'm going to share the screen as we talk about this, but talk a little bit about where this came from, this idea. And, I really feel like autonomy is becoming something for me that I would absolutely recommend this to every single entrepreneur that I can think of. Without this kind of knowledge, you're really, lost in the woods as far as I'm concerned. And unfortunately, so many business people and entrepreneurs are in that situation, certainly with the situation as it is now. But let's talk a little bit about the 19 skills and what this is about.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, there's so much work that it took to get to this point that it is kind of awe-inspiring. Not only like organizing a course, but getting that up and running. We had a sales page for the original course that worked, but we're now concluding the third season, and so there's been such amount of work put into the structure of autonomy, and this is really a new like pinnacle of the peak, because this is a jewel, right, that we're able to take some wisdom from inside of the course, package it up into a PDF, and be able to offer that to new people. A close friend of mine, Shannon, she joined Autonomy this last season, and I tried to tell her like what Autonomy was, and the potential that she had when she joined, but she couldn't grasp like how life-changing this really could be, right? So she even like joined, and she was still like, I don't get it. Like, I just trust my brother, and so we're gonna go through this. And now she's like at the end of her first season, and she's like having these massive aha moments where like realizing all these individual parts of what all this is can all like come together and achieve great things. That PDF is really just the first touch of like offering value, which is the name of the game here in autonomy. And if you haven't figured this out yet, figure out how to offer value in your life, and you'll start moving towards your purpose in life. But that's our first touch, and so that is something that's easily digestible. It's 20 pages. I mean, it's no short PDF, but each item, each of those 19 skills is something I wish I could have transported back to my younger self, because just becoming aware of those things can start attracting the resources to cultivating that in your life. And so being able to put that out there as that first touch of being like, wow, this is really cool. What else do they have to offer if this is such high caliber stuff? And I actually just got feedback from another friend of mine who's going to be joining next season. I've been telling him about this for the longest time, and he finally decided to like, okay, I'll check it out. And he went to that landing page and he was like, I don't know about all these like big marketing words and revealed, the PDF is here, right? He was really kind of turned off by that, but I'll download it because it's my buddy. And they got that PDF, and he's like, dude, this was like really valuable, really professional, like a really great design. Immediately he saw like the value of all the energy and time that we put into it, and then decided to like move forward with like the emails, and then got on Rich's calendar. He's actually got a meeting with Rich next week. So like I said, that's that diamond that we're able to put out there that gains attention, that people can first understand the level of value that we're putting out into the Ethernet, out into the online community, out there. Sorry.
Into the ether.
Yeah, thanks. Out in the ether, and people can latch onto it and know where to go more, because obviously there's a call to action at the end, and once you join up for that, you'll experience a bunch of fantastic emails to be able to start educating you to understand what it is that you have the opportunity in achieving.
Yeah, in addition, I mean, this has been a group effort. There's a lot of people that contributed to that. Could you talk a little bit about that? And then pretty much everything that people see, the web page, all the different plugins and all that other kind of stuff, it's all contributions that are effectively student efforts. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and it's a very like meta experience, because we're all each individually like growing and learning new skills, being challenged to shine. And this is the accumulation of all that with everybody that was involved. There's probably like over 10 of us that it took to write that PDF, to graphically design that PDF, to edit that PDF, to then package that PDF, and then to place that PDF into what's called a sales funnel, but which essentially is a stack of technology, a tech stack that will be able to automate a process so that we're able to put that offer in front of as many people as possible. Instead of us just talking one-on-one about it, we get to really shoot it out there, so we can attract more individuals. And because of that, everybody stepped up, everybody contributed, everybody got to like take pride in the final product, and then to start it all off, those were 19 skills that Richard Grove came across or learned outside of school when he stepped out of his path in the university and got into the real world and started learning real skills, and realized these aren't skills that the schools are teaching. These are skills to learn how to be an autonomous person, to be able to make offers, to be able to do what you say you're going to do, live by your ethics. And because of that, it was in the course. And at the beginning of this season, I saw that list of 19. I was like, that needs to be a PDF, because like that right there, it was just one slide and Rich just kind of breezed through it. But I was like, there's a lot to unpack with those 19 skills. Each one of them, it can be a major portion, a major tool in your life in order to achieve greatness.
Now, in addition to that, and we're going to get to the questions here in a second, but I want to also touch on the idea of Autonomy Unlimited. And what that brings to the table, because autonomy is just not about learning stuff and being a kind of a student body of people that are learning, but also kind of an opportunity to become apprentice and effectively become a value provider in a business world. And so this is another amazing solution that Richard has kind of envisioned with this idea, and you're basically bringing it to life. Let's talk a little bit about Autonomy Unlimited. I'm sharing my screen as well.
Yeah, so Autonomy Unlimited was born at the beginning of this year on January 1st. It did come as a surprise to me. So the course invites you, to like take any ideas that you have, and with structure and resources to be able to take those ideas and turn them into like entrepreneurial businesses. And so I had my like social media marketing background, which did by then expand out beyond just social media. But it wasn't until I went through Autonomy myself, helping Rich produce the course, did I really get a good understanding of what digital marketing really really everything that goes into digital marketing. And if you scroll down right here, like these are all areas that I've like learned to do myself, either to a level of proficiency, or some areas I'm pretty good in. But all of these things is under the umbrella of digital marketing. And so because of that, I wanted to, expand my own personal business. And then because of how great my working relationship was with Rich, I pitched him this idea, because you learn how to pitch and like make an offer in autonomy. And so I said, hey, why don't I bring in my marketing structure, and you can bring in your background in consulting, and we just create a business so that we're able to help people, manifest their projects. And because everybody's like all these ideas are naturally occurring in autonomy, people are like, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do this. And so this now gives a helping hand not only to people and their projects, so that they don't have to like leave autonomy and go look online for all the components to help build their business. But this also met the need of Rich with his consulting business, because he'd be able to tell somebody a plan, how to do it. You need this, 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 and this. But then he didn't have any like recommendations on who to talk to like build that website, to build that marketing funnel. And so it really was just like a perfect combination of creating this business and having so many like multiple win outcomes come out of that. I get to pursue, or like I get to expand my own personal business. I get to work with Richard Grove and Lisa every day. They're now my business partners. So Rich is giving me coaching on sales and how to interview and like all these great back end things. So I'm continuing my education. We're able to help students achieve their goals and dreams with their businesses. But then it all just clicked, and like, of course, this is perfect. We have an apprenticeship program, so that if you're looking to get out of that slave wage, system that doesn't align with your values, or you just want to have more freedom in your life and want to work from home, which is a great time to do so, you can now apprentice and take these skills that you learned about inside of autonomy course, but then be able to actually put them into practice, see other experts, the freelancers, the professionals who are actually making money doing these things, how they do it, and what tools they're using, and what framework that they have to be able to provide a high quality service to our clients. And so it's a perfect stair-step introduction into figuring out what you want to do, the support and resources to do it, and then also you join the ranks of the freelancers who are helping other businesses become great. And we basically only work with small businesses. We're not looking to help any massive corporations that can hire their own digital marketing department, but we want to help the individual business owner like take their business to market. So lots of great satisfaction from that all around. And now we have this huge system where we are creating a wealth of resources, a wealth of workers now that are putting their time and energy into building this organization. But then also we just continually learn and grow from one another. If you don't know how to do something, nobody knows how to do it. Okay, I'm going to research how to do it. I'm going to record my process in researching, and now I know how to do it, and I have a recording of it that everybody else can watch and now know the shortcut on how to achieve that. So we're creating this massive library of walkthroughs and tutorials on how to do just about anything. And so the people that are coming in behind us after trailblazing, the path is much easier to walk through. You know exactly where you're going. You know the people to talk to on the way to get there. And so just like me, and as I said, my like 8-year adventure of doing this all on my own in order to just so much work and time that I put into this, you could rapidly catch up to a level of proficiency because you now have all this, the map, you got the map.
Absolutely. And, you know, if anybody wants to ask a question now, this is probably the time. But I would say that, you know, as far as entrepreneurs or stuff that are interested in, you know, building their business and stuff, I mean, I just, the level of talent and all these skill sets and all these different areas that, you know, are basically at your command to some degree for a student coming in, even if they're, you know, just a student, but if they're an entrepreneur, if they've got an idea, if they've got a business that has been, you know, struggling, all that stuff, all that availability of the marketing and the sales and all the other expertise that the student body represents, it's truly a tremendous value that is hard to believe. But let's see if we can get a question out of our audience here. We've got a few people who wants to ask a question. Don't be shy.
While we're waiting for somebody to come off mic, one other great benefit of this is we now have such a wealth of resources available to us. We're able to help out those small businesses. You know, that mom and pop store that, you know, they need a new website, but they just can't afford to hire somebody. We have apprentices that would love that opportunity to be able to get a chance to build a website, to add it to their portfolio. We get to give them an incredible deal on cost, something that isn't normally available in your average market. And so we're just able to help out a ton more people because we offer a high quality service and we get paid well for that. But because of that, we also have resources to be able to help others with their projects.
All right, I think I'm gonna have to call a couple of people out here. Is Agnieszka, are you available to ask a question? I mean, Agnieszka has definitely been a
Hello.
integral part in Autonomy.
Apparently so. I just, you know, I'm like a rolling stone. I roll wherever the spirit takes me. And so if I'm engaged more, it's because of that. But I really love Autonomy and what Joshua and Richard have created. And I think it's an amazing place to be and be loved. That's one thing that all week has really stood out for me. Is like in every meeting, there are all these loving people who really care about each other, you know, and they're like business meetings, but we still really care about each other. And that's really great. It's better than working in a soulless office.
Absolutely. Joshua, you got anything to say in regard to that? Was that a question?
No, it really is great because I've worked with plenty of people that I like couldn't stand. Like, go check out the restaurant industry. There's usually like horrible communication taking place, this top-down regime, and you have to do what you're told, and it doesn't foster an environment where that's very pleasant. Obviously had good times with certain people, but nothing like the environment that we've created here. In order to work in Autonomy Unlimited, you have to have gone through the autonomy course. And from that, you get exposed to ethics and business practices and learn what integrity is. And so you're working side by side with all these people with these same qualities. And it really does. It creates this quality of community that is unmatched, like nothing I've ever seen, where you can trust others. You know that things will be handled. You know that if they can't handle it, that they'll handling it, and that they'll be able to, reschedule if needed. You're not just sitting there waiting on people, getting frustrated, but just surprised at how, like, oh wow, you already did that. Oh, that's amazing. What a great idea. Oh, you already implemented it. That's amazing. And so all this energy just continues to build around us and amaze us all. And I love working with you too, Agnieszka.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of different, military units and stuff like that, where there's a high esprit de corps and there's a level of performance that's incredibly high. And then I've also participated in a lot of construction projects. And, I definitely see there's a point where people understand what the concept is and how to get the job done. And there's an energy that's created. It's a camaraderie. That's a egregor that happens within an organization. But I'm telling you, there's nothing quite like what's happening with autonomy. And, again, the future, we're just starting to realize the potential of where we're headed here. And it is truly amazing.
Yeah, I'm seeing the difference of, like, okay, we all have a common goal, great, and so that creates some level of like shared vision. But then in unison, the self-development that's taking place, the self-ownership, the self-accountability. And so because of that, it's not just like a dependent relationship where, like, okay, we're all dependent on this common goal in order to, like, be here and work next to each other. And if that common goal wasn't there, then we'd all kind of just fizzle away. Like, we're all individually, like, such stellar people and have such stellar work ethics, and often shared values, shared like worldviews that we get to joke around all the time. We know that we can speak freely to one another. If we need to have a hard, serious discussion, we can go there. We can schedule the time. We can have these difficult conversations, and like, just practice this. Like, didn't have enough information, was curious about why that took place with another person, but gave them the benefit of the doubt. Like, instead of, like, oh, I'm not even going to talk to him about that because I'm so mad, they instead, yeah, benefit of the doubt, and then found out, like, oh, it wasn't as it seemed. How great. So just having these tools, yeah, to be able to apply to the community, and so that there's no awkwardness. There's no awkwardness. Only awkwardness is trying something new. And we're all getting really good at feeling awkward at trying something new.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of vocabulary words that come into play with autonomy, and we're always. I think I was working with Deirdre on that kind of vocabulary list, and certainly things like schedule your success, and do it live, and what's the one with? I'm having a bit of a brain thing, but. Well, just getting things done, that attitude of getting things done, or there's that procedure. But I'm gonna let one last opportunity to ask questions, and otherwise, I think we'll kind of conclude this thing. Anybody else? One last shot at a question.
Don't be shy. I got a really peppered pass that you can ask about, and I'll be really forthcoming.
Here we go. Lawrence is going to ask questions. Go ahead.
Hey guys. I wish I had a good question, but okay, how did I get so lucky? That's my question. Because, last fall I signed up for a call with Richard Grove. I thought that was very exciting. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea what I was walking into with the quality of mentorship. Richard Grove, Joshua Hale, Agnieszka Evanson, Mike Nimitz, and just the quality of people in autonomy and Autonomy Unlimited. It's very exciting to be a part of. And, thank you all for that.
It's been so cool to watch you bloom, Lawrence. I know you won't take any offense to this, but you were painfully awkward to watch on camera when you first joined the community because of how, with good reason, nervous and just trying to come out of your own shell and be comfortable speaking in front of a camera with a microphone in front of a community. And we were all like rooting for you and silently giving you our support. And then to see you bloom over the last 8 months has been a real joy to not only see you come to your own, but develop these skills, right? And that hooked your interest. And now, yeah, you're like an integral part of the structure of putting on the autonomy course and producing some really awesome memes and video production, man.
Thanks, Joshua.
Yeah.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah, Lawrence, you are definitely rocking. I see you pretty much involved in everything. You're just like Energizer Bunny here, man. I mean, just all kinds of good things coming out of you these days, huh?
Wait till I quit my job.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know. I don't know if I can take that kind of energy level, man.
You're a magician, Lawrence, and that's all. Yeah, it really. I mean, what does it? Autonomy didn't teach. I'm gonna start the video. Autonomy didn't teach Lawrence how to be a magician. Autonomy gave Lawrence the ability to take the skills that he already had and put them forward in a brave and self-confident, or I'm not sure.
Practice his magic in front of an audience so that others can see the brilliance.
Mm-hmm. And he's amazing.
If a magic trick isn't seen by an audience, does it really happen?
I guess not. I don't know. But I guess we're coming to the end of the conclusion. We want to be respectful of everybody's time. We definitely hope this was helpful and certainly appreciate everybody's attention in being here or watching our show. Joshua, I certainly am so thankful and grateful for you to take the time out of your busy schedule, which I know is an incredibly busy schedule. But thank you so much for gracing us with your presence here today, and thank you everybody for coming on board for the show tonight. And with that, I will bid adieu, and we will conclude. And I will stop the recording now.